Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayed Nashtaprayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 9, Text 11. Panduputran Upasinan Panduputran Upasinan Prashraya Prema Sangatan Prashraya Prema Sangatan Abhyachastha Anuraga Ashray Abhyachashtanuragashray Andibhutena Chakshusha Andibhutena Chakshusha Panduputranupasinan Prashraya Prema Sangatan Abhyachashtanuragashrair Andibhutena Chakshusha Panduputranupasinan Prashraya Prema Sangatan Abhyachashtanuragashrair Andibhutena Chakshusha Panduputranupasinan Prashraya Prema Sangatan Abhyachashtanuragashrair Andibhutena Chakshusha. Prashraya Prema Sangatan Abhyachashtanuragashrair Andibhutena Chakshusha Panduputranupasinan Prashraya Prema Sangatan Abhyachashtanuragashrair Andibhutena Chakshusha Panduputranupasinan Prashraya Prema Sangatan Abhyachashtanuragashrair Andibhutena Chakshusha. Synonyms: Pandu, the late father of Maharaj Yudhishthir and his brothers. Putran, the sons of Upasinan, sitting silently nearby. Prashraya, being overtaken. Prema, in feelings of love. Sangatan, having gathered. Abhyachashta, congratulated. Anuraga, feelingly. Ashraihi, Ashraihi, by tears of ecstasy. Andhibhutena, overwhelmed. Chakshusha, with his eyes. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation: the sons of Maharaj Pandu were sitting silently nearby, overtaken with affection for their dying grandfather. Seeing this, Bhishma Deva congratulated them with feeling. There were tears of ecstasy in his eyes, for he was overwhelmed by love and affection. Translation with repetition. The sons of Maharaj Pandu were sitting silently nearby, overtaken with affection for their dying grandfather. Seeing this, Bhishma Deva congratulated them with feeling. There were tears of ecstasy in his eyes, for he was overwhelmed by love and affection. Purport. When Maharaj Pandu died, his sons were all small children, and naturally they were brought up under the affection of elderly members of the royal family, specifically Bhishma Deva. Later on, when Pandavas were grown up, they were cheated by cunning Duryodhana and company. And Bhishma Deva, although he knew that Pandavas were innocent and were unnecessarily put into trouble, could not take the side of the Pandavas for political reasons. At the last stage of his life, when Bhishma Deva saw his most exalted grandsons, headed by Maharaj Yudhishthira, sitting very gently at his side, the great warrior grandfather could not check his loving tears, which were automatically flowing from his eyes. He remembered the great tribulations suffered by his most pious grandsons. Certainly, he was a most satisfied man because of Yudhishthira's being enthroned in place of Duryodhana, and thus began to congratulate them. Thus ends a wonderful transcendental Bhakti Vedanta purport. Om Jnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namavom Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So, after the wonderful celebrations of Sri Krishna Janmashtami and Vyasa Puja, we are now getting back to chapter 9 in Srimad Bhagavatam, the passing of Bhishma Deva in presence of Lord Krishna. That is the title of the chapter. So this chapter is describing how Bhishma Deva is passing away, and Lord Krishna is personally present in front of him. The most glorious passing away, and has been given a lot of importance in Srimad Bhagavatam. So this verse has some very interesting and instructive purport. The first thing I would like to talk about here is this emphasis on the nature of Duryodhana. This says later on, when Pandavas were grown up, they were cheated by cunning Duryodhana and company. So you can see that Bhishma Deva is lying on his bed of arrows. Every part of his body, every millimeter of his skin, of his body has been pierced by the arrows. It is not possible for anyone to survive. Any ordinary person would have passed away long ago by just any one of those arrows piercing. But Bhishma Deva, having obtained the benediction of leaving his body whenever he wanted to leave his body, therefore he was holding on, and he was lying there on the bed of arrows, undoubtedly in great pain. But when Yudhishthira, the Pandavas, they came and sat there next to him, he is remembering, you will see in the next few verses, the great tribulations, the great difficulties that the Pandavas were put into. And for such pure devotees, exalted devotees, to go through such tribulations was indeed something that was very difficult to bear. And yet, Bhishma Deva, for his entire life, he has seen those tribulations. He has seen from childhood how Their father had passed away, and they were very young at the time, teenage or lesser. Um, and he has seen them grow up, always righteous, always on the side of the right, and yet been put into so many difficulties. And although Bhishma Deva would counsel Dhritarashtra to control his son, not to always listen to Duryodhana, but Dhritarashtra would not always listen. And Bhishma Deva was in a bind over the oath that he had taken. And therefore, there was nothing much that he was able to do. But now, in his deathbed, as Yudhishthira is sitting next to him, now he could no longer control his tears. And he was so pleased to see Yudhishthira sitting next to him that finally, after all the tribulations that were imposed upon him by cunning and cheating Duryodhana, none of them could prevail. And ultimately, by the grace of Supreme Lord, Yudhishthira emerged victorious, and this pleased Bhishma Deva greatly. So, the cheating and cunning propensity of Duryodhana is well known, and in fact, in Bhagavad Gita also that is mentioned. But before I go to that, you can see the 3 C's that have been mentioned in the purport here in this one sentence: cheating, cunning, and company. There could have been many words that Prabhupada could have chosen, that they were cheated by cunning Duryodhana and company. There are many synonyms for cheating, many synonyms for cunning, many synonyms for company. But see the poetic nature of Prabhupada's writing translations, that even in the simple English sentences, there is a poetic nature of descriptions. Cheated by cunning Duryodhana and the company that he kept. If you look at this verse in Bhagavad Gita, the first chapter, Arjuna himself acknowledges this nature of Duryodhana. Yotsamanana veksheham ya ete atra samagataha dhartharashtrasya durbuddher yuddhe priyachakirshavaha. So Arjuna is referring to Duryodhana as dhartharashtrasya durbuddher, that is the evil-minded son of Dhritarashtra. Dhartarashtrasya is translated as for the son of Dhritarashtra, and durbuddhe is translated as evil-minded. So evil-minded son of Dhritarashtra. If you see in the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is referred to by many names. Can anyone of you remember what are the names of Krishna that have been referred to in the first chapter? Keshava, then Madhusudana, Rishikesha, Janardana. So in each of these verses, when Krishna's name has been given other than Krishna, and in fact, even for when Bhagavad Gita refers to Krishna as Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, even for the word Bhagavan, Prabhupada has given purport. For why the link, the specific significance of that specific name. For example, Madhusudana. What was the significance of Madhusudana? Anyone remembers? And? But why is it mentioned in that verse? Krishna killed the Madhu demon is there, but then why mention that name in that verse? Arjuna can overcome difficulties he's facing. Actually, that is when he is saying, how can I kill in the battlefield persons like Bhishma and Drona who are worthy of my worship, O Madhusudana? And in the very next line he says, Arisudana, killer of enemies. So while Krishna has happily killed the demoniac forces and his enemies, but he is asking Arjuna to kill grandfather Bhishma and his own spiritual master Dronacharya, who is worthy of worship. So how can I kill someone who is worthy of worship? Whereas you, O Krishna, are going around killing demons, but you're asking me to kill my spiritual master. How is this fair? So you see the names that have been referred, each time there is a link with that specific verse. So here also, he is referring to Dhritarashtra, and is referring to Duryodhana as Dhartarashtrasya. And sure enough, Prabhupada has Even though this is Bhagavatam, right? This is Bhagavad Gita. But in the Bhagavatam verse that we are studying today, there is a line that says, cheating and cunning Duryodhana and his company. So that company includes his father Dhritarashtra. Prabhupada has explained this in multiple places, that when Duryodhana was scheming and plotting to usurp the kingdom from Yudhishthira, he was collaborating with his father Dhritarashtra, or you can say Dhritarashtra was collaborating with his son to ensure that Duryodhana gets the kingdom. So Dhritarashtra was very much keen. He was so attached to his son, even though he knew that Duryodhana is evil-minded. But he was helplessly attached to his son, to a degree that he was unable to check his affection for his son, even in the evil-minded schemes of Duryodhana. So this nature of Duryodhana, the desire to usurp another's property, let alone the property of a pure devotee like Yudhishthira, simply the nature to usurp another person's property. This has been described by Prabhupada as mudha, foolish, rascal. These are the words that are used in describing, and Krishna himself uses this word mudha in describing such a tendency of people. And the word mudha has been translated by Prabhupada in two ways. One is in Bhagavad Gita, he translates mudha as foolish. And elsewhere in purports, when he's giving lectures, he would call them rascals. Very strong words. So such persons, they are unable to recognize what is rightfully theirs and what belongs to someone. Whereas a sober person, a devotee, recognizes that everything belongs to Krishna. Ishavasyam idam sarvam. Everything belongs to Krishna. And therefore, he has no desire to wife or to look at possessing something that belongs to somebody else. All of us have been given a quota of material possessions. Each one of us have been given a quota of material possessions. This quota of material possessions, actually all of it belongs to Krishna. Just like in a household, you have got, let us say, some prasadam has come, Janmashtami prasadam has come to your house. All of us, how many of you have Janmashtami prasadam snacks on your dining table, snack counter? You all have Janmashtami prasadam snacks. If not, there is still some boxes there you can purchase. Sometimes it is observed that Janmashtami snack boxes are reducing, but the money is not going into sell. There is a QR code given there. Please scan that and make the payment. It is honor system. So you take this Janmashtami prasadam home and you keep it in the counter. There are several members in the household. And then if you ask someone, they'll say, no, I didn't take anything, but the quantity is reducing every day. Every day quantity is reducing, but nobody knows who's taking it. So the question is then, okay, who gets how much? So in some households, they'll be a little bit more systematic. They will say, okay, this much is for you. You are a little bigger, heavier, you need more. Take some extra 2 laddus. You are a little small, you can only take 1. If you take more, you'll vomit. Because very small children, right? They put in the mouth, it'll come out, nothing will go inside. But if that small child looks and says, oh, he's getting 2 laddus, I'm getting only half laddu, why? That's all, you cannot eat more. Just trust me. But the child will say, no, I want to. I don't care what I do with it, but I want to. And the child will just hold in the hand, it will get smushy everywhere, laddu will happen. But a devotee knows that whatever I can handle is being given to me. And is very comfortable with that quantity of material possessions that is coming. But a mudha or a rascal, who's an evil-minded person, like Duryodhana mentality. Duryodhana mentality is there in all of us. It is not just that Duryodhana had it. We all have it and we can recognize it from time to time. In fact, one of the first symptoms of advancing in Krishna consciousness is one begins to recognize the moments we are behaving like Duryodhana. We are able to see our thoughts, observe our thoughts, our tendencies, and see all the dirt that is in our heart when you're sweeping the temple sometimes, um, outside, downstairs, below the deck. It seems like it's all clean. Why somebody is sweeping? But when you start sweeping, you'll see, oh, there's so much accumulated dirt here, right? So the accumulation of dirt becomes visible when you start sweeping. Cheto darpana marjanam bhava mahata bhagni nirvapanam. So cheto darpana marjanam. Marjanam means to clean. So when you start cleaning your heart by the process of chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So what is happening? We are cleansing our heart. When we are cleansing our heart, what happens? All the accumulated dust becomes visible to us. So one of the first things that happens when you start chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra is, in fact, you will start observing just how evil-minded we are. How we are envious. The envious nature becomes manifest to us, and that's a good thing. Because that means the sweeping is happening. That we are able to observe. But Duryodhana was not able to observe. He was not able to tell that he is evil-minded. Right? Others could tell. Those who were not evil-minded could tell. Arjuna could tell that he is evil-minded. Dhritarashtra could tell, but he was so much attached that he could not help it. But the sign of advancement is that we can tell that here I am being evil-minded. Oh, there I am being evil-minded. And that observation of our tendencies is a good first step. So here, Duryodhana is being referred to as an evil-minded person. And this tendency to long for something that is not in our quota is a product of the civilization that we are in. From childhood, we have been coached, we have been encouraged. Go, get it. You can do this. The world can be yours. It will be at your feet. Do this and it will all come to you. So we have been coached and given this sense of rightful indignation that this should have been mine. This is rightfully mine. And therefore we spend our life trying to get those positions which rightfully must belong to us. Look at this American dream. Some of you who saw the skit, there was a mention of the American dream, ghastly American dream. This dream that every American is entitled to a house with a 2-car garage, with a dog and a cat and the front yard and a backyard, a loving family, children, neighbors, social prestige, respect in the society. American dream, we should get it. It can be yours. And people all over the world flock to this country because it's a land of opportunities, a land where you too would obtain that dream and spend the entire life chasing that. A strong, costly, expensive education, looking for a job, visa. It's not just for Indians. Every persons of every nationality have come here and have struggled for existence, chasing this dream, American dream. But Bhagavatam gives us a slightly different advice. There is a different perspective given by Srimad Bhagavatam. And Bhagavatam gives this wonderful verse. Tasyeva heto prayateta kovido na labhyate yad bhramatam uparyada talabhyate dukhavadanyata sukham kalena sarvatra gabhira ramhasa. It says, tasyeva, therefore, all the prayatna or the effort that we put, prayateta, prayatna, the efforts that we are putting, should not be directed towards that which is anyway going to come to you. As per the Vedic conclusion, the material possessions, the happiness and distress that we are enjoying in this life is no doubt a result of the activities that you perform. But it is not the kind of activities that you think that you are performing that is giving you that happiness and distress. Rather, it is a very different kind of activities that has a causal link with happiness and distress. What kind of activities are these? These are pious activities. Pious activities give you happiness. Impious activities give you distress. What is a pious activity? What is impious activity? This is also defined. Pious activity is that which is in accordance with dharma. Dharma, artha, kama, moksha. These are the purusharthas. Dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. When you are following the principles of dharma, then your desires, kama, can be satisfied through economic development, artha. So now what is this dharma? Yes, by the dharma, I can get economic development. It is not simply by own material efforts that I can get this economic development. Dharma can give economic development. Then naturally, if you come to know about this, you will ask, what is this dharma? I want to follow this dharma. Because that by doing that, actually your opulence will increase. Simply stated, Prabhupada gives this definition of dharma. Dharma means to obey God. Very simple definition. When you obey God, that is dharma. When you disobey God, that is adharma. Very simple definition, very clear cut. Not very complicated. When you obey God, dharma. Disobey, adharma. So when you are obedient to God, obedience to the laws of God, and the most important fundamental principle is that which is due to you is already being given to you. It's already being given. It will come for you in its due course. You simply have to continue with your life in the station that you have been put in. Under the guidance, under the laws established by the Lord. So long as you're obedient to the rules established by the Lord, what is due to you will anyway come to you. And when you enjoy that and you continue to be obedient to the laws laid down by the Lord, naturally you will be promoted to higher planets. Naturally you will be given more and more opulence. And you may go to higher planets and enjoy them. And sometimes in the process of doing that, one may become misled. One may start disobeying the laws of God in trying to enjoy the opulence that has been given. And then you will go down to hellish conditions, to lower conditions. So this is happening automatically. Sometimes you're going up to higher planets, sometimes you're going down to lower planets. So in the automatic discharge of your duty, as per the laws given by the Supreme Lord, when something is anyway coming to you, why do you have to endeavor more than necessary for it? So Bhagavatam says, don't direct your precious energy of your life solely for the purpose of economic development. It should not be directed at all. It's anyway going to come to you. Instead, what should you do? You should direct your energy for something which you cannot get, even if you get to all the three worlds. If you go to the Swargaloka, if you go to Satyaloka, if you go to Tapaloka, even if you go to Brahmaloka, or you go to all the lower planets, there is something which you cannot get. Automatically it won't come. Not automatic. It will only come if you make an endeavor. That is what our life's energy should be directed towards. Na labhyate yad bhramatam uparyadaha tal labhyate dukkavad anyata sukham kalena sarvatra gabhira ramhasa. So, just as miseries come unsought, is there anyone here who says, I want flu? Desperately, therefore I want to go near every person who has got flu. Do you have cold, cough? Please, I want to come and please give me some association, come and sit with me. I want some flu from you. Anybody says like that? Nobody says. But anyone here can say in the last 3 years, 4 years, you have not gotten the flu, cold, cough. Even COVID, I think everybody has got by now, 2-3 times maybe even. Every disease comes on its own, unsought. Nobody goes looking for it. Just as miseries come unsought, similarly, sukha, happiness, also comes unsought. This we don't know. We think that miseries come unsought, but for happiness I must work hard. No. Happiness also comes unsought. So just as miseries come unsought, happiness come unsought. Therefore, there is no need to endeavor for that. Instead, one should endeavor for that which is not available on its own. And what is that? That which is not available on its own is actually the knowledge about who we are. Although you have been given the facility to understand who we are in the human form of life, but that knowledge does not come on its own. You have to seek out. One has to be curious about the self. And therefore, to be curious about the self, if you must have time, if the time aside for sustenance, then that is considered foolish, mudha. Prabhupada gives this example of a foolish living entity. And that example comes in the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, 15th verse, when Krishna is describing 4 kinds of persons that don't surrender to me. Who are the 4 kinds of persons that don't surrender to me? Namam duskriti no mudha prapadyante naradhamaha mayaya apahritta jnana asurim bhavam ashritaha. So the 4 kinds of persons are Namam duskriti no. These are miscreants, 4 kinds of miscreants that don't surrender to Krishna. Who are they? Namam duskriti no mudha. First one is mudha. So in explaining these 4 categories of persons, Prabhupada says, mudha example is a person who is working extremely hard for some benefit which he anyway, good sleep, maybe good family, maybe. But you see, how much food can we eat? I know some of you are youngsters here. Maybe you'll say, how many chapatis can you eat if you are given chapatis? That's all. Seriously. Come on. You can do better than that. 4 to 5. Even I can eat 4 to 5. Tell me the real number. I've seen you eat 15. We can eat. And when you're younger. But then what happens? When you're a little older, there are some persons, my age group here, we all know. Yes, we can eat 3, 4, but then what happens afterwards only we know. We have to be very, very restrained. 2 chapatis, half chapati, 1 chapati, like that. So, all the hard work that you do, you can, 8 chapatis, 9 chapatis, 4, it doesn't last very long, very little. And that little bit of chapati is available very easily without having to work so hard. So Prabhupada gives the example of a donkey. Donkey is carrying the burden on its back, right? And in the former days, people used to carry especially dhobi. The person was a dry cleaner, not dry cleaner, washerman. Thank you, washerman. Washerman would take their clothes on a donkey because donkey was cheaper, I suppose, than a cow. Maybe they used cow for or a bull. Bulls were used for plowing the field. But I guess bulls considered it less than their dignity to carry work. I don't know exactly what the reason is. But in former days, donkeys were used to carry the clothes that they would collect from various households, and then the washerman would take it and wash it. Now look at this problem from the point of view of the donkey. The washerman is getting some livelihood for it. What is the donkey getting at the end of it? Now, one thing before you answer that. Donkey's workload was not light. It's not that, they will say, okay, donkey, why don't you carry some and I will also carry some. Let us share the workload. One backpack or one maybe mic speaker I'll have in your hand. Other things you carry. No. Donkey was given everything to carry. A washerman will simply walk along. What will the donkey be thinking at the time? Just imagine from donkey's point of view. He'll say, would he think that, oh, this man, he's making me carry everything. And look at him, he's carrying empty-handed like this. I'm doing all the hard work. And he's living in this house. And he has got this beautiful wife. And all these children. Front yard, backyard, 2-car garage. Everything belongs to him. I'm doing nothing. I'm doing all the hard work. I'm getting nothing. But donkey doesn't have the intelligence. It thinks that, oh, this master is so kind to me. Just for carrying this load on my back, he's giving me so much grass, fresh grass that I can eat. Oh, I must serve this master so nicely. This is what the donkey thinks. He doesn't know that the grass is anyway growing on the ground. Whenever he wants, he can go and eat that grass without having to carry any of this workload. He has to do that workload, is what he's thinking. So he's thinking that the grass is available to him because of the workload he's doing. But Is there any correlation? There's no correlation. Grass is anyway growing on the ground. And donkeys can anyway go eat that grass. But they don't have the intelligence. So our modern civilization has become like that. It has made donkeys out of us. We are all carrying the load of some miserly men, of some materialistically minded men who are exploiting all of us into doing their dirty laundry for us. And we are thinking that such a kind manager, such a kind and large-hearted boss, what a generous company. It is rated first or 10th in the top 100 companies of the world. I must work for this company. Such a premium company to work for. And we proudly display their logo on our t-shirts, our caps. I work for this company and I work like a donkey for this company. I am so proud to be a donkey. This is our mindset, donkey mindset. So, as long as we are thinking like a donkey, there will be persons like Duryodhana to exploit. But here, in fact, Duryodhana himself was compared to a donkey. Not that he is just exploiting others. Because he is another category of mudha, which is a rascal mudha. Rascal mudha, not the donkey mudha. Donkey mudha is foolish mudha. But the rascal mudha is a little bit like the asuram bhavam. Asuram bhavam is atheistic, the fourth category. And in that, the person wants that which belongs to others. Devotees are not like that. So we need to check that tendency of wanting something that others have. Prabhupada says in the purport, miseries and mixed happiness are two features of material life, and they are obtained in Brahmaloka and other lokas also. They are obtained in the life of demigods and also in the life of dogs and hogs. The miseries and mixed happiness, because in this material world there is no pure happiness. Any happiness you get is mixed happiness only. So the miseries and mixed happiness of all living beings are only of different degree and quality. But no one is free from the miseries of birth, death, old age, and disease. Similarly, everyone has his destined happiness also. No one can get more or less of these things simply by personal endeavors. Even if they are obtained, they can be lost again. One should not therefore waste time in these flimsy things. One should only endeavor to go back to Godhead. That should be the mission of everyone's life. So, we come to the next part of this purport, where Bhishma Deva is expressing his ecstatic love for Yudhishthira. There were loving tears in his eyes, and he began to congratulate them. So this brings a question that, after all, he was a kinsman of Yudhishthira, the Pandavas. They were his family members. So when a family member becomes victorious and is coming next to him, and he was very affectionate to the Pandavas as well. This is also very well known that Arjuna and Yudhishthira and all the Pandavas, in fact, were very affectionate to Bhishma. And Bhishma was also very affectionate to the Pandavas, right? So now, on one hand, when the scriptures are asking us to be restrained in material attachment to the family, because these attachments are temporary. Although we spend our life being so attached to our family members, and we think that my mother, my father, they are everything for me. My husband, my wife, my children, I cannot be without them. But in the past life, who was our mother? Who was our father? How much attached we were to them? Do we have any recollection of who they were? We have no idea. We have no idea who they were. What about the life before? In this life, I have been with my brother, I have been with my sister since I was born, or very soon after I was born. And I spent my whole life being so loving and so affectionate towards my siblings. But who were my siblings in my past life, with whom I was so affectionate? Can any one of us remember that? We cannot remember. And therefore Bhagavatam says, be aware that you are eternal and these relationships are temporary. And do not get carried away by the forces of affection that you might experience, because that is something that is an expression of your mind and body system and not of you who are an eternal being. But here we are seeing Bhishma Deva, who is being glorified to such a great degree, and there's a whole chapter after his passing away, is shedding tears when Yudhishthira is coming and sitting next to him. How do we understand this? In fact, there's a in just the previous chapter, we have seen the prayers of Kunti Maharani, where she says, Atha Vishveshu Vishwatman Vishwamurti Swakeshu me Sneha Pasham Imam Chindi Dridam Pandushu Vrishnishu. Sneha Pasham, this tie of affection that she is feeling. Actually, Kunti Maharani is a pure devotee. But she is praying in a humble position that the tie of affection that she feels towards Pandus, which is her home that she got into after marriage, and Vrishnishu, which is her maternal home, paternal home, which is her home before marriage. So for any woman, there are these two very important families with whom they have the ties. One is the family that comes before marriage, and one the family that comes after marriage. And any married woman will have ties to both the families. And as time progresses, and Kunti Maharani was an advanced age. So as time progresses, the tie of affection grows with both the family members. And here Kunti Maharani is praying, O Lord, Atha Vishvesha, Lord of the universe, Vishwatman, soul of the universe, Vishwamurti Swakeshu me, Sneha Pasham, this tie of affection that I have for both these families, please sever this into bits and pieces. Chindi, completely sever this so that there is no sign of this affection anymore. And this mood has been set in Bhagavatam in 1.8.41. And just a few verses afterwards, in 1.9.11, today's verse, Bhishma Deva is shedding tears of ecstasy out of what appears, is it a material compassion, material joy in seeing Yudhishthira be victorious? How do you understand this contradiction? So, to understand this, we need to understand first how different persons engage with other persons, depending on where you stand in your advancement of devotional service. A person may be at a neophyte stage of devotional service. It is called Kanishtadhikari. The symptoms of a Kanishtadhikari, and then the next stage, which is Madhyamadhikari, and then the next stage, which is Uttamadhikari. There are 3 stages of development of Krishna consciousness. How a devotee in these different stages relates to different people around has been described very nicely in Nectar of Instruction. In the purport of Nectar of Instruction, in chapter 5, Nectar of Instruction, text 5, Prabhupada has explained in great detail what are the differences of the devotees who are at different stages of advancement as Kanishtadhikari, which is the neophyte stage, Madhyamadhikari, which is the intermediate stage, and Uttamadhikari, which is the most advanced stage. If you have not read Nectar of Instruction, I would encourage all of you to read this book. It is a must read for anyone who is aspiring to be initiated. Anyone who has already been initiated has not read this book, it's a must read. We cannot actually discharge our duties as a servant of Srila Prabhupada without having read this book and having internalized the contents of this book. Extremely important book. And in this text 5, where Prabhupada is giving the purport, he quotes 2 verses of Bhagavatam, and then he explains those verses, and it's great detail, we don't have the time. I'll just read out these 2 verses very briefly. The first verse, I'll just read the translation. A person who is very faithfully engaged in the worship of the deity in the temple, but who does not know how to behave towards the devotees or people in general, is called a Prakrita Bhakta or Kanishtadhikari. This is the neophyte stage. Such a person in this stage feels that, oh, there is Supreme Lord. I must be obedient to the laws of the Lord, and the Lord is here in the temple. I must come here and offer my respects to the Lord. And this Lord is reciprocating in my life, and I am very grateful to this. And this person, this devotee in this neophyte stage is conscious of the role played by the deities in their life, but is not conscious of the role played by the other devotees coming to the temple. They are not respectful necessarily towards them, or they ignore them. They are not aware of the potency of sadhu sangha, of the association of devotees. They come to the temple, they offer their obeisances, and certainly they get the mercy of the Lord. But their stage of Krishna consciousness is such that they are not aware exactly how to behave with the others, how to respect the others, how to take joy in the success of the other devotees. They are not aware of this. It is recommended by Rupa Goswami, and Prabhupada explains this to us, that all of us must aspire to rise above from the stage of Kanishtadhikari, which is the neophyte stage, to the Madhyamadhikari stage. So what is the Madhyamadhikari stage? The Madhyamadhikari is a devotee who worships the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the highest object of love, makes friends with the Lord's devotees, is merciful to the ignorant, and avoids those who are envious by nature. So it is recommended that we should come to the platform where we are accepting the Supreme Lord as the highest object of love, which means we place the Lord in our life greater than the family members, greater than the closest friends that we have, greater than our siblings, greater than grandparents, greater than parents, greater than everything else. The Supreme Lord is the greatest object of our love in our life, greater than husband or wife. That is a Madhyamadhikari. So if you want to come to Madhyamadhikari, which is a necessity for us, we are all being encouraged, we must understand that Krishna is more important than our husband or wife or children. That is the standard of Madhyamadhikari. But then, it is not just that. Such a person makes friends with the Lord's devotees. So where he sees that there are other devotees of the Lord, he is friendly towards them. He excuses their intransigence, their transgressions. So anyone who is out of mistake or sometimes due to past nature, all of us are diseased conditions. Every one of us are here because of our material disease of wanting to be Duryodhana, wanting to want other person's property. So naturally in our interactions sometimes it may come through. Despite our best intentions, such tendency, such behavior, it may come through. There are many anarthas, many dirt accumulated from many lifetimes in our heart. And therefore when you are interacting with devotees, inadvertently it may come through because of our past nature. So a person who is aspiring to be Madhyamadhikari recognizes that, oh, this is a person's, he is helplessly acting by his nature. But look at him, such a nice devotee, such nice service he is doing. I am nothing. I must take inspiration from this person. Look at the good qualities of this person. Focus on the good qualities of this person. And glorify the good qualities of this person. Praise the good quality. Congratulate that person when the occasion arises. Take joy in their success. These are the qualities of a Madhyamadhikari. Uttamadhikari is a pure devotee. He has none of the shortcomings of a Madhyamadhikari or a Kanishtadhikari. An Uttamadhikari knows the scriptures completely in and out and is able to convince others about the conclusions of those scriptures. When a pure devotee presents, when a Uttamadhikari presents the conclusions of the scriptures, immediately other person will get convinced because there is so much conviction and knowledge, and he knows when to apply which scripture, when, which part, and when to give the example of which scriptures. Whereas a Madhyamadhikari knows the conclusion of the scriptures, may not be able to explain it to others. But for today's verse, the significant part is that Bhishma Deva, of course, is Uttamadhikari, but here he is congratulating Yudhishthira because he is taking joy in the success of another devotee. And what kind of devotee is Yudhishthira? I'll just quote one verse and then with that we'll stop. Yudhishthira is a very special kind of devotee, and his position is explained in the 8th chapter of the first canto of Bhagavatam, where it is said, Lord Shri Krishna caused 3 well-performed Ashwamedha Yagnas, horse sacrifices, to be conducted by Maharaj Yudhishthir, and thus caused his virtuous fame to be glorified in all directions like that of Indra, who had performed 100 such sacrifices. So actually, Indra, who is Indra? He is a king of the heavens. And where is Yudhishthira? He is a king of earth. Just one planet. And heavenly kingdoms, there are many planets. It's not just one planet. Although Indraloka is one planet, but he's a king of the heavenly realm. Many planets, very, very opulent. Naturally, heavenly planets are very opulent. King of Indra is extremely opulent. And to become Indra, he had one person, any person who performs 100 Ashwamedha Yajna has a rightful claim to become Indra. So once a person becomes Indra, naturally he wants to prevent others from performing 100 sacrifices, because then his position will be gone. And there is also such an episode in Bhagavatam. But naturally Indra is very, very opulent, right? Now here, Yudhishthira only performed 3 horse sacrifices, but he became famous in the entire universe at the time. Same level as Indra. How? Because of the grace of Lord Krishna. Prabhupada says the king of heaven is thousands and thousands of times greater than Maharaj Yudhishthira in opulence. Yet, the fame of Maharaj Yudhishthira was not less. The reason is that Maharaj Yudhishthira was a pure devotee of the Lord. And by his grace only, King Yudhishthira was on the level of the king of heaven, even though he performed only 3. There is one more place in Bhagavatam where Maharaj Yudhishthira is glorified, his devotion is glorified, and his position is explained to us. And that is in the purport of 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, where the pastime of Narsimhadev is being described, where Narsimhadev appears to protect Prahalad. And in the purport, this is mentioned. This is the scene where Narada Muni is talking to Yudhishthira Maharaj, and he is relating the story of Hiranyakashipu and Prahalad. So he has related the entire historical incident where Narsimha appears as Lord Narsimhadev, and he has killed Hiranyakashipu, and Prahalad is offering his prayers. And at that time, Maharaj Yudhishthira, in his mind, he's thinking, oh, what a wonderful devotee this Prahalad is. I am nothing. And Narada Muni is able to see the mind of Yudhishthira Maharaj. And then he says that, oh, don't worry. Actually, Pandavas are the most fortunate. And you see in the purport is being explained. This is the nature of a pure devotee. He always thinks himself to be the lowest, to be incompetent and unqualified. This is Yudhishthira Maharaj. And he is sitting next to Bhishma Deva. Thus, after hearing the narration of Prahalad Maharaj's activities, Maharaj Yudhishthira, who was on the same standard of devotional service as Prahalad. We all know how great and exalted a devotee Prahalad was. So here it is being said that Yudhishthira Maharaj was on the same standard as Prahalad. Thus, after hearing the narration of Prahalad Maharaj's activities, Maharaj Yudhishthira, who was on the same standard, might have been thinking of his own humble position. Narad Muni, however, could understand Yudhishthira Maharaj's mind. This is another quality of devotees. They understand how another devotee is thinking. Pure devotees, they can read other devotees' minds. And therefore, he immediately encouraged him by saying that the Pandavas were not less fortunate. They were as good as Prahalad Maharaj, because although Lord Narsimhadev appeared for Prahalad, so what is happening here? Supreme Lord Krishna, he is coming in the form of Narsimhadev, and he appeared for Prahalad. He performed his wonderful pastime. He was there in front of Prahalad for a brief moment where he killed Hiranyakashipu. He battled with all the other soldiers in the assembly of Hiranyakashipu. And then he received the wonderful prayers from Prahalad. And then what did he do? He kept his hand on Prahalad's head, and then he disappeared. But what happened to Pandavas? The Supreme Personality of Godhead, in his original form as Krishna, not in an expansion, but original form, was always living with the Pandavas. Not that he just appeared and went away. He was constantly living with them. So how great was the position of the Pandavas? How much the Pandavas have been favored by the Lord, that he came and he resided with the Pandavas for over 100 years. Although by the potency of Yogamaya, the Pandavas could not think of the Lord as the Supreme Lord, because Krishna had deliberately hidden that knowledge. But Narada could understand that, and therefore he used to constantly visit Yudhishthira Maharaj. So that Yudhishthira Maharaj, who is on the level of Prahalad Maharaj, and with whom the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in his original form, continuously spent so much time. That Yudhishthira Maharaj, pure devotee, is sitting in front of Bhishma Deva. So now how would he relate? As a devotee, he is overjoyed at the success of Yudhishthira and the Pandavas. Oh, so wonderful. So that is the mood of Bhishma Deva. We'll stop here and see if you have any questions. Yeah. They are all forms of dushkritina. So you should read Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, text 15. So in text 15, 7.15, that has been described in detail. There are 4 pages of purport that Prabhupada has given. Great detail. Very nicely explained. It includes scientists, researchers, research assistants, research scholars, PhD. Everybody is included. Mayaya aparata jnana, third category. Those, not just that they are PhD, is because they are thinking that through my scientific endeavor I will change the world. I will cure cancer. I will find the rocket. I will go to the moon. That is the perfection of life. I will take the human advancement civilization to a degree where through cryogenics you will never die. I will freeze your body. 500 years from now, somebody will invent a way for your body to be resurrected. These scientists, they are called Mayaya Apahrita Jnana. So intelligent. If that effort had been put in Krishna consciousness, where they would have gone. But instead, they're wasting their time in thinking that material advancement through scientific research is the way humanity will achieve perfection. Such persons, their jnana, their knowledge has been stolen by illusions, and therefore they do not surrender to Krishna. Maya aparta jnana. So, namam dushkritino mudha prapadyante naradhamaha, lowest among mankind. Lowest among mankind. They are just like, completely low in their intelligence. They think just killing the animal, forest dwellers or tribals with no knowledge of Krishna, they would just completely, absolute lowest, they'll be killing any animals left, right and center. No knowledge of any civilization. They have no civilized qualities in them. Completely uncivilized, barbaric civilization. It is described, I think the Nordic, I'm not, don't quote me on this, but yeah, I think the Nordic and the Huns, there were many such barbaric civilizations. And many of the modern day people we are all descendants from such barbarians also. So barbaric people, Naradhama. So Mudha, Naradhama, then Mayaya Abharata Jnana and Asuram Bhavam. They know there is somebody called Krishna, but I will not submit to Krishna. Why should I submit to Krishna? I am great. You submit to me. If you don't submit to me, I'll kill you. You're with me or against me. Who cares who is with Krishna? You're with me or against me? Decide now. This is Asuram Bhavam. There have been many such news before. It is not the first time. I have read such news all my life. Now, all of them in 10 years from now, half of them would have been dead. Old age, disease, they will not survive. So, like this, people come up with news bites to keep active interest among gullible population. And this is not just scientists who do this. Persons, cheaters are everywhere. Prabhupada says there are only 2 kinds of people in the world. What are they? Cheaters and cheated. So it is not that only in the scientific community that they are publishing such news. There are so many people posing themselves as God-men, as pious, spiritual, and they do so many fake magical tricks. And they will say, sometime back there was this, and this keeps coming back again and again. There is this place where they take a spoon of milk and then they keep it near Lord Ganesha's mouth and they will see the spoon disappears. The milk disappears. All the milk. Look, Ganesha is drinking the milk. And that will go viral. Okay. Now, of course, any fluid, you keep it near any substance, it gets attracted like that and goes down, right? And so like this, there are so many such videos that come and gullible people get taken by that. This is one of them. The promise of eternal life has been made by science for many decades. This anti-aging, they would have said, oh, we have identified the aging gene in mice, and we have found a way to suppress that gene, and by performing this experiment, the mice were looking energetic and healthy. And yeah, they would have done that controlled experiment. They would anyway would have been energetic and healthy. First of all, you put them in a cage, and they were miserable because of the lousy food that you were giving them. And then one day you stopped giving them food, they became healthy. You are thinking it is because of something you did. So this kind of fooling the population is going on, and they get published in all these journals. They're all funded by people who make money from this. There's a massive industry around this. Neither. By knowledge. Knowledge. It is knowledge only, transcendental knowledge, that burns to ashes all our reactions to sinful activities, and this affection that we feel towards our family members is out of ignorance, thinking that this is our eternal bond. Jivan Sati. Jivan Sati chun liya. There is a Hindi saying, right? In movie dialogues it comes. She has selected life partner. Yes, okay, maybe this life partner. What about previous life partner? You already chose. What happened to that partner who was supposed to be there with you for better or worse, in sickness or health? What happened? Yeah, death did them apart. Now again you take that. Even the best case scenario when there is no divorce or separation, death will move you apart, right? Yes, until death do us apart. But then everyone thinks that, oh, such a wonderful oath they're taking, so romantic. Until death they will be together. But what they're ignoring is, death will make you apart. Okay, then don't you think you should take an oath where even after death, I will not be apart? That is a relationship with spiritual master. Mama janmani janmani shware bhavatat bhakti rahe tuki tvai. So the relationship with Guru and Krishna is lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. And once you have that knowledge that my actual position is something that is life, should be put in the context of who you really are and how this relationship be used to execute your duties in respect to your real eternal identity. Any other questions? We'll stop here. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki